This is Hub City Spokes, where creators, catalysts, and leaders share their insight in Lubbock, Texas. This season, we're speaking with local businesses discussing their response to these changing times. We have the mayor for the city of Lubbock, Dan Pope, here with us today. Thanks for joining us. I know you're busy guy. Your schedule is probably pretty packed.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So this season, as we've spoken, is about local businesses and how they've adjusted perhaps their business plan to these changing times. As mayor and a huge proponent of small business, what was it like for you when all this kind of started up and approaching something that is quite foreign, I would imagine, to most people?
I've been mayor 4 years, and I spent 9 years on the school board before that. So for the last 13 years, I've been in the public arena in some form or fashion. And in 2011, after the economic downturn, schools all over the state had to make some significant changes. And one of the changes we made at Lubbock ISD eliminated 90 jobs. And that had been the most difficult decision I'd ever had to make publicly until March, when we closed things down. And you walk out on a limb that you don't know it's going to hold you, kind of thing. That's where you are. And I can remember the night before the decision had to be made, spending time on the phone with one of my buddies who owns a store on Broadway, who I've been friends for 40 years. Our kids grew up together, and walking through this, knowing that he's not essential. I think all business is essential, but he didn't fit that definition, and knowing what the impact it would have on him and his family. But I think at least from my perspective, you get all the information you can. You try to use common sense, and you make the best decision you can possibly make. And I think now, as we look back on that 8 or 9 weeks later, I think we acted at about the right time. I think we took COVID-19. I think we took it appropriately seriously. I think it's going to mean we recover quicker. I think we're already starting to see that. And I'm very fortunate. I'm very thankful for the people of our community. As much as it's difficult to take personal liberties away, but our people have taken this very seriously, and I think we'll all be the beneficiary of that, because I think we can safely reopen our world and get people back on their feet.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people have seen this as a great strength from you and your council as you looked at this decision. And I think you see a lot of strength from our local business community as they've adjusted. Anything you want to speak to about Lubbockites in there?
This is amazing. The first place this really hit in our community was our grocery stores. And so when we think about Lubbock, we think about United Supermarkets, because they have such a large presence in our community, and they mean so much to this region. And so, they were a great partner in how they tried to keep their employees safe, their team members safe, and how they tried to keep our citizens safe. And in some ways, we were sort of making it up as we went, because we were learning about this virus as we went along. But I think about people like Scarborough Specialties and Advanced Graphics, who changed their models from printing T-shirts to making masks, or making shields to be used in the medical profession. I think about the way our hospitals shifted and locked things down to make sure that they kept patients safe and patients' families safe and their employees safe. And they made really difficult decisions. I've got 1,000 stories I could tell about the good people of Lubbock. I've said it several times, but I think the thing that I will take from this, there's no better place to be in the world than in West Texas. You see that in the way we take care of our neighbors. You see that in the ingenuity and that creativity and that pioneering spirit. It just busted out like with the green. We had great weather. Thank God we had great weather this spring. Our parks got overrun, and we've had people exploring parts of the canyon lakes that they've been here since the tornado, and people didn't even know they were here. So there've been a lot of great things about this, but I go back to the people.
So speaking of the people, obviously to approach something of this magnitude, you mentioned Robert Taylor. You've a lot of partners throughout the community that you've worked together, and you've been communicating with the public constantly.
Yeah.
So what is that like to coordinate something like that and to inform the public as well and often as you did on what was going on?
It's a team sport for sure. We've got a great team. We've got our city manager and his team are always prepared. From an emergency management standpoint, we were ready to go. Katherine Wells and the health department have been remarkable. Ron Cook, our public health authority, Dr. Cook, has been, that's a little bit like being mayor. You don't get paid much to be the public health authority. It's just something you do because you serve your community. So together, we've worked on this idea about educating and advocating and communicating. And so we talk early on. It was about the big three. It was about, don't touch your face, wash your hand, keep your distance. And as people are starting to understand social distancing, you could have a little different kind of messaging. And we talk a lot about safety, but we also talked about hope. We wanted to balance that idea that there was going to be a bright light at the end of the tunnel, and that there was going to be something better, and that we could persevere through this together. So we have a great comms team at the city, and you've seen that they've done a great job. Lacey Nobles and her team have been a big part of this, and we'll continue to communicate. I think that's part of it. We owe people an answer. We owe people notes on our progress. They need to, where we are now, they need to know that we can safely go back to restaurants. We can safely go to stores, that we can safely restart our life. We always want to remind people that it is about safety, but that we can put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. What about some of the initiatives that you are part of? Let's start with Lubbocks Safe. We're talking about maintaining health guidelines, but yet still visiting those businesses again.
Yeah, so I've got to give credit. We appointed a 22-member Lubbock Economic Recovery Task Force. I asked Steve Massengale, Councilman Massengale, small business owner whose doors were shut. I felt like it needed to be somebody who really understood this. And Robert Taylor, the CEO of our largest private employer, I asked those two to chair it. We invited 20 other people to join them and about 8 or 9 other sort of consultants, people, experts, the Chamber, LEDA, some folks from Texas Tech, an economist, some really bright people. Many of these are the busiest people in our community. They were either run big organizations or small organizations. Some were trying just to get to tomorrow. Some local retailers that were closed. People like Brad White at Cardinals. I mean, think about think about the inventory and those kind of things. But every person said yes. In fact, there was nobody even said, "Can I think about it?" And they've done a fantastic job. This Lubbocks Safe was that's their brainchild. When the governor took the keys from us, for good reason, we around the state, we closed it down on a city by city basis, because everything was a little different. When it came to time to restart, he felt like we needed a restart as a state. That's his prerogative. And we felt like, though, that we needed to offer another level of safety to our citizens. And that's where Lubbock Safe came from. So it's this idea that businesses can self-certify, that they'll follow these protocols regardless of what kind of business they are. And we have 825 businesses that have done that. You see the sticker in the window. I ate at Abuelo's today, one of our local, it's a nationwide footprint based in Lubbock. They had their Lubbock Safe sticker on. I just, when I go into one of our stores and see that, it makes me realize how many folks have said, yes, we're willing to take that extra step to make sure that when somebody comes here, they know that we take this seriously.
Yeah, it definitely creates this, like I said, this sense of, we're taking our health seriously, and also this pride in the community that we're going to be a part of this initiative because we're going to push Lubbock forward, and we're going to be in this together. So I think that was really interesting. Yeah,
we're going to partner to get out of this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Exactly. We sort of partnered our way into this mess, and we got to partner our way out.
Yeah, that's the only way.
Yeah.
So support Lubbock.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, small business, running a business has been a huge part of your life and kind of your inspiration. I hope not to speak for you, going into being mayor. What was your mindset whenever you were working with, SPAG, LIDA, Market Lubbock, and thinking we need to help these businesses out?
Well, we realized that not every business qualified for the PPP, the federal program, and so it was a tough decision because we went into reserves and they're tax dollars certainly, but we plan for the future in our economic development organization, and it's a tough decision to do that. But with the council, with the full support of the council, I think it's important. This was not a mayor thing. This is our council, and with LIDA and with Market Lubbock and with the chamber and with SPAG, we stood this program up in just a matter of hours, really, and that $2 million was gone in 30 hours. That's a little more than that, about 60 hours, 2.5 days. In fact, it's oversubscribed. We're working right now on a next tranche of funding using some of the CARES funds for that. So, the other thing we did, which doesn't get quite as much publicity because it was all private, but we raised $1.6 million through the local foundations, through our community banks, nearly $400,000 from our banks, CH Foundation, Helen Jones Foundation. As you might imagine, we honked the horn. They jumped in the back of the truck. Coach Matt Wells and his wife Jen gave $100,000. We had several other families make really large gifts. $1.6 million, most of which has already gone back through our partner agencies throughout the community. This was run by the Community Foundation of West Texas and by the United Way. It didn't have to be a United Way agency, but through agencies to get the families and individuals who are hurting for rent assistance, for mortgage assistance, for food. And, those, that's back to the people I talked about a minute ago. We raised that money in no time. It didn't take a sales pitch. A couple Zoom calls and all the bankers on a call, and Mark Bain went down the list and called them out by name by name and asked them how much they were in for. And it may have been a bit of peer pressure, I don't know, but they all stood up, and that's who we are, and that's why I'm betting on Lubbock.
Yeah, Lubbock absolutely is defined by extraordinary people.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
So looking forward, what do you think our cities learn from this? Is there anything that you think, or maybe not necessarily learn from this, but what are some things we're going to maybe think about a little bit more moving forward?
Well, I think we'll learn a lot from it. I think there's wisdom in being prepared. And I think we were relatively well prepared. And I think we've learned some things where we can be better prepared. I promise you we'll have our own stock of PPE going forward. We're not going to have to rely on some phantom stock of some other state or federal agency. There's no reason why we can't have enough of that to support the people who need it in our community. I think we've learned that the fact that we're socially distanced by nature is a real positive for our community. I can't help but think that families, young people, young men and women that are starting families and are looking for good jobs and want backyards and want safety for their family and want an environment where people still walk down the street to the park. I can't help but think that Lubbock, Texas doesn't become a bigger player in the regional, statewide, national scene. I think we'll benefit from this long term, because I think we'll come out of this stronger. Our economy is very diverse. We don't rely on in a disproportionate way on any one business or one industry. And so people won't think I'm just bragging when I talk about our healthcare community. They'll think about Covenant, UMC, and the Health Science Center, and they'll go, that's what makes Lubbock different. And that's why you had people from Farmington, New Mexico in the hospital with COVID-19 in Lubbock, Texas. We have great health care. When you think about quality of life, health care is pretty close to the top of the list.
Absolutely. So this isn't the first challenging time Lubbock's had.
Sure.
We've just a few blocks away from the new memorial that will pay tribute to the lives affected by the tornado. What message of resilience, or as you said, pioneering spirit, what do you take from that? What are some parallels that you've drawn? I'm sure you've reflected a lot about that recently.
Yeah, I have it. By the way, it's great to be in downtown Lubbock at the new DoubleTree. We're ready to get the doors open here. And, when I think about the tornado that hit in 1970 and the fact that due to this pandemic, we didn't even get to observe the 50th anniversary of that. And we'll be opening our tornado memorial later this year. And next May 11th, we will observe that appropriately. I often remind people, less than 150 years ago, the Comanches ruled this part of the world. They were the worst, they were the toughest, meanest hombres in the Continental 48, okay? This was the last part of the Continental 48 to be settled. And the people that would move here and homestead and face that were tough.
Yeah, they were not weak people.
They were not.
Sure.
I mean, they just suffered no fools. No weaklings, and I think that's borne out in what we see. West Texans are tough people. That's in our DNA, and we're creative, and we found a way to grow cotton, and we figured out that you could water from below pull that water out, and not only can we grow cotton, but we found a way to increase the yields about 5-fold over the last 2 or 3 decades, and we've created this really first-class existence at 3,200 feet. We don't have a lot of humidity, where we enjoy, nearly 300 days a year of sunshine. And, it's that spirit and that creativity, that initiative that has got us where we are. It's what got us through the tornado in 1970. It's what will get us through this, and it's why I wouldn't bet against Lubbock, Texas.
No better way to say it. So I think the only way to end it is to use your words. It's a great day in Lubbock, Texas. We thank you. We thank you for your leadership and the council for your leadership as well.
Thank you. It truly is a great day in Lubbock, Texas.
Hub City Spokes is produced by the Lubbock Economic Development Alliance in partnership with Hamlet Bros Studios. Special thanks to the DoubleTree by Hilton for hosting us here in downtown Lubbock. For more episodes and to subscribe, go to lubbockeda.org/podcast.